Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Sasha Peterson. I'm with Adaptation International, and I just want to take a couple of minutes and share with you a brief overview of a really cool project that we're just wrapping up, looking at community-defined thresholds for extreme weather events and how we can use that information to make climate projections more relevant and more useful for communities. The motivation for this project is that so often when we're talking about the issue of climate change and how it's going to affect our local communities, the discussion starts with something like this. Here's the greenhouse gas effect, and here's how greenhouse gases act like a blanket around the Earth, and they trap heat and warm the Earth. Or maybe we'll start the conversation with this figure from the most recent National Climate Assessment, where it shows the correlation between global atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide and global average temperatures. Perhaps we use quotes about how much evidence is coming together to show that climate change is happening and it's already affecting the communities that we care about, and humans are primarily responsible for those changes. But the truth is, when it comes to local communities and taking action to be better prepared for climate change, this type of information isn't useful. It's not what the communities care about. What the communities care about is when weather goes from a nuisance to a problem and affects their community. So here's a picture that I took at a recent trip in last January to San Angelo, Texas. Perfectly fine Texas winter day. Here's a picture of that same intersection taken a few years earlier by the National Weather Service during an extreme precipitation event. So that's when climate and extreme weather starts to affect a community. That's what they care about. They care about when public safety is at risk, when transportation corridors are interrupted, when emergency management or the police department has to reroute in order to provide their services. That's when climate change and extreme weather affects a community. So with this project, we collaborated with, it was a collaboration of 5 organizations. So Adaptation International, we're a small mission-driven organization focused on building climate resilience across the United States. 2 of NOAA's RISA programs, or Regionally Integrated Sciences and Assessment Programs, the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program and the Climate Assessment of the Southwest. Atmos Research, a climate science consulting firm, and ICET International. The project, as you saw earlier, was funded by NOAA through the Sectoral Applications Research Program, or SARP, so we're grateful for that funding that made the whole project happen. And for this project, we piloted the approach that we developed with 4 communities across the south central US. The 4 communities represent a range of political and environmental conditions. They're dealing with a variety of climate-related concerns, and they're generally medium-sized communities. They included Boulder, Colorado, Las Cruces, New Mexico, San Angelo, Texas, and Miami, Oklahoma. And the project itself was broken into 3 phases. So the first phase was identifying those critical extreme weather thresholds. So we brought together stakeholders from a variety of city departments in a workshop setting and worked with them to identify when that threshold is crossed. When does weather go from a nuisance to a problem? Most of the time, this is representative of issues that the city and the community is already dealing with. They already know that when temperatures are over 105, they need to be concerned about vulnerable populations, or they see more heat-related illness at their hospital and healthcare facilities, or they know in that extreme precipitation case that if it rains more than an inch in 24 hours, certain streets are flooded. So they identified those thresholds. Then we went away, and Atmos Research took the lead on analyzing the climate projections for 2 different climate scenarios around those specific thresholds. So we could bring back climate information, not just generally speaking about changing climate conditions, but information tailored to the community-defined thresholds. So they would know exactly how many more days per year would be over 105 in the middle of the century, depending on the climate scenario. So we brought that back to the community. We discussed those results in another workshop setting. And then a unique aspect of this project is that through NOAA's funding, we had a little bit of seed money to give to the communities to actually implement a project that would address one of those extreme weather concerns and help them build climate resilience and be better prepared for future extreme weather events. So the communities in that last phase identified those projects and implemented them. The projects that they chose ranged from a rainwater harvesting system and a weather station in a community park to an 8th grade lesson on extreme weather preparedness and climate-related thresholds to a green infrastructure plan and more rainwater harvesting in one of the other communities. So continue the learning. You can check out that information on our website. You can follow through and check out the additional videos in this series talking about why planning for climate change is important, and then look at the nitty-gritty details of those thresholds that were identified for 2 of our pilot communities. You can also find more resources on our website, adaptationinternational.com, or those of our partners. And with that, I'll let you continue to explore. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks to all the project partners and to NOAA for funding this project.